What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Go Lead Everything podcast. Awesome guest today. Thrilled to have a fitness coach, mindset coach, podcaster, and host of the Healthy Living Sessions podcast. He's a speaker. He's a health and fitness fanatic. This guy has one of the best first names in the history of time and definitely has some awesome initials. I love his initials, but he's big, he's buff, he's packed with energy and value. He's an avid learner, a man of strong faith, which we definitely have in common, and I am absolutely thrilled to have him on the show today. Philip Sessions, welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, thanks, Philip. I appreciate you having me on. Now, this is weird saying Philip for each one of us, but
no one's going to know who's talking.
Cool having the one L in our name, just like the Bible, right?
Definitely, man. Philip with one L like the Bible. I think that's why we originally hit it off. I'm like, man, there's another Phil with one L in this group. We joined this 365 Driven Society and just kind of like connected with the Philip name. But I've been following you, watching your stuff. Got great energy. You're doing some pretty cool things. Really glad to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about your fitness story. I mean, obviously you're a fitness coach. You're pretty passionate about health and fitness. When did that start for you, and what's been your fitness journey, my man?
Yeah, well, Philip, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. But how did I start this fitness journey? I think like most guys, it kind of started with wanting to be more attractive to a girl. But I'll take it back just real quick. Growing up, I was always into sports and everything. Tried to do horseback riding when I was really young, but as soon as I could get into sports, my parents let me, I got into sports. Now, I was not very good on a team because I was always so driven. I always wanted to be the best and always work super hard. And a lot of times, especially, little league and stuff like that, the people aren't there. They're just there just to be there. They're not as interested in it. And so I really excelled in track and cross country for myself. Now, I wasn't super fast by any means, but I was faster than the average person. But I did long distance, and then transitioning into college, I said, I really want to get into weightlifting because I want to be more attractive to women, have the bigger muscles, look better for myself, be more confident. And that kind of changed after a while because, well, first of all, I wasn't getting attention from the women. It was more guys, both straight and gay. And so it was just interesting how the paradigm shift there, where I thought I would get more attention from women and I got less attention, it seemed like. But after that, I found out that it was really longevity that I was looking for in really building myself up. So I kind of turned into a bodybuilder from then. It was about getting bigger, getting stronger. And still getting bigger is the goal, but it's about being more defined, about figuring out how to fit this into a lifestyle and now teaching people about it. So it's kind of came full circle from being inward to now external. Now I want to help other people with their health and fitness because I've been on this journey for about 11 years now.
Oh, wow.
And it's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot of things, and I want to be able to give back to people that feel like they can't do it themselves, because a lot of people feel like they can't get a lifestyle out of it. You've got to just eat chicken and rice every day, and that's not the case.
Yeah, man. I think that's super cool. Have you done bodybuilding shows or any like real competition related to fitness?
Yeah, so I did two bodybuilding shows, or for one bodybuilding show, I apologize. One bodybuilding show 2 years ago, get my numbers backwards there. And then I'm getting ready to do two more this year. So it'll be September and October of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And that was another pivotal change for me because I actually had a coach for that. And I'm really thankful for that coach. He helped me learn a lot, but I also felt like because of things that he didn't teach me and the ways he went about things that I didn't necessarily like, I wanted to make a change on that too, because he was the whole chicken and rice kind of thing, or almost no rice, especially
Sure.
by the end. I was down like super low carbs and fats and really high on the proteins. And it was miserable, man. I mean, 7 days a week lifting, or cardio 7 days a week, lifting 6 days a week, an hour of each. And so it was just a bunch. And then working on top of that, 10 to 12 hour days,
Ugh.
it was just, it was a lot. And there's a better way to do it. There's just a better way to do it. And that's what I try and teach now. And not so much on the bodybuilding, get you on a show, you on
Mhm.
stage or anything like that, but just teaching that lifestyle. So a lot of people just, they just think that if they get on a diet, they can't eat with their family. And that's totally, totally wrong.
Yeah, for sure. My
Had
older
any
brother did
aspirations to do bodybuilding shows?
so I did a bodybuilding diet with my brother years ago when I was at
Mhm.
university, and it was just a fun challenge for me. He was actually doing a show. He had a fitness trainer, and my older brother, he's always kind of had a very muscular sort of build, and
Mm.
real good body for it. And he had a guy that at the gym where he was working out say, "Hey man, I'll train you for free if you let me coach you, and you do the show, and it'll help me get my name out as a trainer." So, he did that, and I did the diet with him, just kind of moral support or whatever. But man, that last couple weeks where I mean, it was the same sort of thing. It's like, cans of tuna and broccoli or chicken and broccoli. And then like the last couple days, we actually did the whole dehydrate thing. And,
Hmm.
you're chugging water, 3 gallons, 4 gallons, 5 gallons. And you stop for like 2 or 3 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're just dying. Like, it's just miserable. It can't be good for you.
Yeah.
It just
Oh
can't be
man,
good for you.
it was bad, especially when I got close to that show. I mean,
Oh,
working all those hours, I'd be sitting there like on the line, trying to program control systems, and these guys, my coworkers, be trying to talk to me, and I just sit there like just zoned off, and they're like, "Dude, I'm like, what'd you say?" Like totally looking at them dead in the eye, or maybe even closing my eyes, and like didn't even register that they were talking to me. Even
mhm.
if we were just talking, I said something back, I just zone out, and it was bad. Energy was beyond
That's
low.
crazy. So I know you're just getting done, or maybe you're already done with that 75 hard, and I'm pretty sure you've done that a couple times. That's something
Yeah.
that I think is pretty cool. And talk a little bit about that challenge and what that's done for you mentally.
Mm. So 75 hard, that is my second time to complete it. I just finished it on Sunday. Sunday was my last day. And so as a recording of the podcast is, 2 days ago. And, the second time, and it was, I don't know, easier but harder at the same time than the last time. But essentially, for those of you that don't know what 75 hard is, basically it's two workouts. One has to be outdoor, essentially, to be able to get used to, things are going to come up in life, and you have to weather the storm literally sometimes. And so that's why one of them are outdoors. And so it's two 45-minute workouts. Then you have to drink 1 gallon of water a day, 10 pages a day, stick to a diet, which for a lot of people is hard, and then take a progress picture, which surprisingly, which is the easiest thing. You literally take a picture of yourself. A lot
Right.
of people usually take it shirtless. I mean, there's no requirement on that, but that's the one thing that people tend to fail on, that one small thing that you need to do for the day. And so it's 5 things that you need to do. Andy Frisella talks about the power list, and that's why it's 5 things to do each day. Obviously, it's 2 workouts, so you could kind of say 6. Oh, and no alcohol, but that's, just you put it out of the diet or whatever. But it's those 5 things. You have to do that for 75 days. And if you fail at day 74 or even on day 75, you have to start back over at day 1. And so that's what I finished twice now. And there's 3 phases. I only started on phase 1 last year, and I failed that 3 times and then never picked it back up. But I plan on doing the whole program this year. And so each phase kind of adds different things to it, like a cold shower on phase 1 and 3. So you have to be in the cold shower for 5 minutes, and still the 10 pages of reading, and the original 5 things are all there, but it varies on each activity or each phase, what activities you have to do for the day. So it can be a lot, but it's more than a physical transformation. It's more mental than anything. Obviously the physical comes with keeping your diet on point, but the mental transformation is a big thing, because you get used to weathering through that storm. You get used to doing 5 things every day that you have to keep doing. And if you really are on top of things, you really should be doing your power list as well, whether it's 1, 2, or 5 things. You should be doing that on top of this program. And it's going to help you realize that you do have the discipline and the fortitude to keep going even when you don't want to, because it's on your list to do today. You've got to get it done. No matter if it's 2 a.m, you hadn't gone to bed yet, you've got to get it done before you go to bed.
Man, it's such a cool challenge. it's amazing how it took me too long to realize the power of building those daily habits. And I think back to my time at university when I played sports. We had our morning lifts, we had our daily practices, we had these things we had to do, and I took it for granted. And then when I got out of school, I just like took 2 years off of like all physical activity. And that was like the dumbest thing I could have possibly done, because you have those good habits built, right? And,
Mhm.
I think this challenge is super cool. Have you done cold showers before? Like, have you researched that? There's a lot of mixed opinions on how effective those are. At least I've heard some.
I haven't done the research behind it per se, but to me, it really wakes you up. I think it's the biggest thing is it wakes you up. You're not going to go back to sleep or anything, hot shower will make you feel good. You're kind of ready to go to bed, stuff like that. Cold shower is just going to wake you up. But everybody talks about other benefits. And I'd say one other benefit is that nobody wants to get in a cold shower. So if you're forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do, you're kind of training your brain to keep doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. Because anything in life, if it's something you don't want to do, is something that's not easy, is usually going to benefit you more. Not always, but usually it will benefit you more. Just like a diet, right?
Yeah, for
You
sure.
don't want to eat the salad. You'd rather go eat some chocolate cake or something.
Pizza.
And the chocolate cake's easier to eat because more pleasurable than the salad, but the salad's going to help you in the long run. Same with
Yeah,
going to the gym.
for sure, man. So I'm one that tries these things by experience, and I've tried the
Mhm.
bodybuilding thing. I've tried vegan for 2 years. I've experimented with all sorts of diets, keto, there's paleo out there. What's your take on dieting? Is it counting macros? Is it, calorie counting? What's your approach to the proper diet?
Yeah, so the proper diet really it's going to be whatever you can stick to. I mean, I know it's kind of a very vague answer, something that's kind of PR, if you want to say, like something that just kind of blanket statement there for you. But really, whatever you can stick to is going to be the best thing. Now, my approach, what I like to do is do what's called if it fits your macros, IIYFM, or macro based, where you count your calories, and then within those calories you have protein, carbs, and fats, and so you're having to track all that. But then that allows some flexibility in there. Obviously, you could put some ice cream into your diet, but then you just put a lot of fats and carbs in your meal for the day, a lot of calories. So now you got to try and make it up with other things throughout the day. Obviously, a lot more protein. And you might even end up getting to meals where you're only eating chicken, literally chicken. And I've done that before, chicken or egg white, stuff like that. Something with straight protein, or, me and I've had some friends that you do like 4 scoops of protein for the day just to get your protein count in to hit your macros. But at the end of the day, any diet comes down to being a caloric deficit if you're going for losing weight. If you're going for gaining weight, then you need to be in a caloric surplus. So you have your maintenance calories, and you want to either be below or above those maintenance calories to lose or gain weight. And so that's really the secret behind dieting. It has nothing to do with the new fad, whether it's keto or carnivore,
Right.
paleo, if it fits your macros, if it's a low carb, high carb, low fat, high fat diet, whatever. They only work when you're in a caloric deficit or caloric surplus. And most people would be a caloric deficit. Most people want to lose weight. And so there's nothing special about a diet.
Sure. What's your take on intermittent fasting, or even extended fasting?
Yeah, I've done intermittent fasting before. To me, it allows you to be a little bit more flexible. When I did it, I also just did kind of a calorie based. I didn't really watch my protein as much. I didn't get everything in there because I was actually traveling at the time. So it was just a little bit easier to go based on calories, which worked out. It wasn't the optimal thing, but worst case to me, focus on hitting calories for the day. If you're out of town, you just really can't get the protein in, whatever, focus on hitting those calories. But I did like it. It was nice, especially when I was just going for the calories. I had like 2 meals roughly because I did a 16-hour fast and then a 8-hour window of eating. And so I'd eat like at lunch and supper and maybe some meal between that. And it was nice because I could go get 2 like decent sized meals at a restaurant, because again, I was traveling, and not have to eat just these little tiny meals. So it was nice for that. I did feel like I was a little bit more focused throughout the day, because I wasn't having to try and go grab something else to eat, because I mean, I eat like every 3 hours. And so that's, 2, almost 3 times sometimes at work. And so that takes away from work for sure. And so it
Mhm.
was nice because I could stay focused with that intermittent fasting. How do you feel about it?
I've actually, I like your perspective on it. I've experimented with it a little bit. I've done sort of
Mm,
just like a 2 meal a day. I've done some pretty extended periods of 1 meal a day. And I've even done some, I think 5 days was the longest I went, just on like a water fast.
mhm.
And 5 days on a water fast is hard. And
Yeah.
I know some folks that have done, the 7 days, 2 weeks, stuff like that, and it's pretty intense. But I'm a big advocate for fasting for healing
Mhm.
purposes. I really think it's a great way to allow your body to take a break and heal. Um, you know, you're definitely going to lose weight doing it because you're basically in keto. It's basically like the fastest way to get into keto. So
Yeah.
um, I'm a fan of it, and I think from an intermittent fasting perspective, I think it's a really good approach. It fits my lifestyle pretty well, actually, because I'm not a breakfast guy. I'm a coffee in the
Mhm.
morning sort of guy.
Yeah, and that's another good point. If you're not really a breakfast person, it's perfect, for you. Again,
Mhm.
depends on what you can really do. For me, I like breakfast and stuff, so it's hard. And after a while, I struggled to make it to lunch. Like I started getting lightheaded and stuff because my blood sugar would drop and everything, and so it just didn't work out for me quite as well. But if you're not a breakfast eater, it's perfect way to do it, and you don't have to go a full 16 hours. But again, that diet works more because you're in a caloric deficit. Now, I
Right.
will say there are benefits, that your body's not always trying to metabolize food, so you're giving your internal systems a rest, your digestive systems a rest, so they can kind of reset and everything.
Hmm.
So there is that benefit there. Obviously, with actual fasting, not intermittent fasting, same thing. Your digestive system gets that rest, gets to clean everything out. So fasting is great. It's great as a tool, not a long-term thing for sure,
Hmm.
but something great to use.
So anybody that's spent their life around the gym and around fitness has heard all sorts of different advice from everybody. Everybody's got their opinion. Is there any piece of advice, or like if you're in the gym and you hear somebody like some coach like coaching some dude at the gym, is there any advice you hear that just makes you cringe from some experience you've had where their advice has proved to be no good?
The most cringing thing I see with advice at the gym is more when people try and load up more weight. And I guess it's not really advice, just something I see is when people load up, especially on squats. I think this is the worst one, but you can see it even on like bench and stuff like that. People will overload the weight on the bar, and then they'll do like a quarter rep. And you're like, why don't you drop it down on half and actually get close to 90? I understand not getting all the way down to 90. There's days I don't want to. Some days it just doesn't feel good on the knees, doesn't feel good on the back to go all the way down like that. And so I would say drop the ego,
Mhm.
and I know it's not really answering the question so much, but drop the ego when it
Oh, I
comes to the
think
weights. But that's the thing that I just kills me the most, when you see coaches telling them stuff like that. But I see, people online where they try and instruct you on something, and it makes no sense. Like, or it's just they're telling you the wrong thing, and the people just see that this person is in great shape, and they think that they know what they're doing.
mhm.
And that is a big problem. Fitness coaches that aren't in the gym, or even are in the gym, but on Instagram and everything, you get these people that have a six pack, and now all of a sudden they're a coach, because
Right.
they slap it on their Instagram, and that's frustrating. But then you got the opposite end, where you got, and this is more in the box gyms, where you'll have this bigger trainer who's not in shape, who's eating McDonald's, and yet tells you need to eat right, and telling you what to eat, yet they're
Right.
not doing it.
Right.
You kind of got to lead by example, especially in the fitness space.
Yeah. That's why I'm having you on here, Philip, to tell everybody what to eat, because I can't tell them.
Hey man, you know some things. I mean, we all, at the end of the day, we know what we need to do and don't do. We might
Oh,
not
for
know
sure.
every little nuance, but we can know what's good, what's bad as far as food.
Well,
stuff.
this is something that I know you've talked about in your podcast, and you talk about commitment as being the number one rule to dieting. And speaking to that, what's your perspective on commitment and how important it is to really be committed to a diet or a plan?
Yeah, commitment is definitely up there. I would say consistency, which probably goes with commitment, but consistency is going to be the number one thing really when it comes to your diet. But I mean, consistency, committing to it, really go hand in hand, because obviously if you're not being consistent, you're not committed to it as well. But yeah, committing to that diet says you're going to do it. It doesn't matter what's going on. You're going to do it no matter what. and and so I always kind of fall back more towards that consistency side. But if
Mm.
you're not consistent with the diet, how do you know what's going right, what's going wrong? If one day you're eating cheeseburgers, the next day you're eating salads, and yet your weight goes up and down, I mean, there you can kind of tell, okay, it's probably because of the cheeseburgers I'm eating. But if you're not being consistent and constantly eating those salads or eating the same thing, whether you're at 4,000 calories or 1,000 calories, you're not going to know the difference, or you're not going to know what you need to change next if you're not continually doing the same thing day in and day out. Because that's the thing. We don't want to, if you're eating 4,000 calories right now, you want to go on a diet. You don't want to cut down to 1,000 calories. Let's cut down just a little bit, see how that's working. If you're not losing weight, okay, maybe we cut a little bit more. It just depends on where your calories are at. But you have to start being consistent at something for you to actually know what to change next, and only change one thing on top of that. Don't change 20 things. That's a big problem that people do as well, is
Sure.
they try and change 20 things at once. Like, I'm on the couch eating potato chips. Now I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week, working out for 2 hours a day. I'm going to eat 1,000 a day, just chicken and rice, and I'm going to get in super good shape. And then probably even just only drinking water, get rid of sodas, beer, everything. And it's like, how long are you going to keep that up?
Yeah.
So
Right.
if it's, change one thing and be consistent with that, and then change another. That's what I would say.
I think that's great advice. That consistency piece is so key, and I think sometimes we can get frustrated, like, oh, we want to be in this role, or we want to be leading this company, or we want to be this bodybuilder person. But if you're not doing those daily things that people that have achieved those things do, then you're probably not going to get the results that they're going to get. And so it's all those days and hours, and people talk about some of these big bodybuilders taking steroids and things, being like cheaters and whatnot, but man, they're still in the gym putting in that time and all that work, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
it it's definitely pretty impressive whenever you see someone that's achieved that level of success in whatever they're doing, bodybuilding, business, whatever.
Yeah. How do you, just curious, how do you feel about all the, steroids and stuff? I know there's probably some of that in your baseball career. You
Oh
probably
yeah.
saw some of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
I
do you feel?
So I grew up in the Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa sort of era, right? We
Mm-hmm.
both did, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
there's also obviously a lot of negative connotations with regards to breaking rules in sports. Some recent documentaries have come out, about the I think Icarus is what it's called. It was about like blood doping in the Olympics,
Mm-hmm.
all these Olympic athletes. So I think anybody that's playing at a high level in sports, business, anything is pushing the limit and playing with those lines. I personally think that steroids are kind of a super drug. And
Mm-hmm.
for example, like in baseball, you could be as strong as you want, but if you can't hit a baseball, it's not going to do any good. So steroids are more a tool to allow your body to heal more quickly and allow you to put yourself in a position to be successful more often, because you can heal more quickly, because you don't have those aches and pains that some of these other guys might be dealing with, because you have, sort of that unfair advantage of whatever you're doing. So I mean, I'm not an advocate for them by any means. I think you can take them probably safely if
Mm-hmm.
you do it the right way, and they have great health benefits in some instances. But lots of people just abuse them, I think, and so that would be I guess my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, and then that's totally true. I agree with you on that. And from a bodybuilding standpoint, if you see these guys that are the big bodybuilders, you know, like the Kai Greens and
They're
stuff
not
like
natural.
that. Yeah, they're totally natural, man. But you know, even with steroids, they still had to put in so much work. Just by you injecting steroids, like you said, it's not going to make you hit a baseball any better. It's not going to make you have bigger muscles. The only reason why they have bigger muscles is because they do all the work. And
Mhm.
steroids actually just helps your muscles recover quicker so you can go hit another hard workout. You know, it's
Mhm.
really the testosterone that they're also injecting that
Right.
helps them get bigger.
Sure.
And so if these guys do it, you know, I have nothing against people that do it. You know, it's their body, it's their choice. You know, I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't advise anybody to do it. I'm not going to coach anybody that
Mhm.
does it. You know, but it's to each their own. But
Sure.
these guys don't get where they're at because they're taking steroids. Yes, of course, the steroids help them, but they had the discipline already. They had the consistency already. It's just that next step. I mean, you think about it. We're all, if we're into fitness and we take supplements, you know, protein, pre-workout, stuff like that, we're not natural. We're not taking natural things. Those are
Right.
unnatural things that allow us to hit the macros in our diet, to get that energy that we need to go get a workout, to sustain a longer workout, you know, based on the mixtures in the, like the pre-workouts and stuff like that.
Sure.
Those are not natural things. They don't come from God. They don't come from the earth,
Yeah.
you know? So if you want to, you know, hate on people taking steroids, then you need to stop taking any kind of supplement.
Dude, I had a roommate in college. He used to give me crap for cheating at baseball because I wore contacts.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he was like, "You're artificially enhanced." I'm like, "What?" That's some crap. But I thought it was a
That's
good
funny.
argument.
I
You
mean,
know,
it's
I'm not
true.
natural.
It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, I'm
You
not.
know, but that's funny. Yeah, that, I mean, that's a little ridiculous.
Oh
You know,
yeah, he was just playing, I
serious.
think. But yeah, man. So with regard to fitness, if
Hmm.
you had the opportunity to share one fitness thing with the world and they would all learn it and be like, "Yep, Philip's right. He changed my life. He gave me that one piece of fitness advice." What's the most important fitness advice you would give?
Man, there's so many things you can cover with pieces of fitness advice. If I something that would really change the world, I really got to narrow it down to two things. One is more generic, is just get started. You know, I know that's a tough pill to swallow. It's, you know, again, very generic, but just get started. Nobody regrets having gone to the gym and actually got a workout in.
Mhm.
Everybody regrets not going to the gym year after year. But if you just start, it's going to be a lot better for you. And second thing, and this is more specific, is learning what macros are and how to measure your food. You know, and there's different ways to measure. You can do it with eyesight. You can do it by using measuring cups, and then you can actually weigh your food, which is going to be the most accurate. Obviously, eyesight
Mhm.
is going to be the least accurate. But you know, just start watching what you're eating and monitoring what you're eating, and just that alone, you'll start losing weight without even actually tracking. Okay, I've had this much protein today, and
Right.
this many calories. Like you're going to start losing weight because you're going to realize, you know, like, I give an example here. There's a lady from church, sweet lady, and it was so funny. And it's funny but sad because she's like, I hate when restaurants put how many calories is each meal has, because then I realize how bad the meal is for me. And she, you know, she does nothing with fitness, and so like it made her feel bad.
Oh
But when
man.
you start just starting with calories, figure out, you know, okay, I'm going to eat this much every day, whatever.
Mhm.
Just start with something. And, you know, if you want to ask me questions about that, I'm glad to answer those for you. But, you know, just starting with calories and watching that, you're going to see changes in your body and
Sure.
you're going to know what to do next. Obviously, you're gaining weight. You might want to cut the calories back a little bit, but
Yeah.
start somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's great. And you know, start somewhere, be consistent. And I love like the 75 hard concept. Like, I don't know if you use a scale, but I've found it's, you know, it's one data point, right? And you know, weight's not everything. It depends on what your goals are, but just that consistent, like, hey, here's my picture in the mirror every day, or hey, here's my weight every day, and you can at least have that data point to see, okay, I ate this, here's what I weighed. You know, you can see that result. You can trend where you're going. You can see what affects you and how. And I think that's great advice. Just paying attention to how your body reacts to things.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the scale, like you said, it's just one data point. I mean, it literally will go up during the day, so if you're going to do it at the same time, whether it's the morning or the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sit there and do it in the morning one time and evening another time, because I mean, even for me, I watch my diet and I can gain 5 pounds in a day.
Oh yeah.
So
How much you weigh?
you've got to watch, do it at one time. And I would say stick to maybe once a week. Don't do it every day. It becomes very obsessive, and you're going to be upset and discouraged if your weight's constantly fluctuating.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah. Big guys like us, our weight can fluctuate real easy.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I can lose 10 pounds in a couple days,
Mm-hmm.
So you're a man of faith. Talk about your faith background, how that's affected your life, your personal journey. You've been married now for 7 months, found a great girl. That was something you wanted. You called your shot there, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk about that too. So before we get to faith, let's talk about calling your shots, because I've heard you talk about that a lot, and I thought that was a really cool concept to think about.
Yes, I'll do kind of little pitch here for you. One thing I like to do is it's called the VAC. So visualization, action, consistency, VAC. So you first have to visualize what you want. Then you have to take action to get what you want, but you have to be consistent. So if we think about this, if we want to lose 20 pounds, okay, we visualized we want to lose 20 pounds. Of course, there's goal setting in here, SMART goal setting, specific, measurable, actionable, I forget, whatever, SMART goals, look it up. But anyways, you visualize that you're losing 20 pounds. Okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. Now we have to start taking action. What's some action things we can do? Well, I can start going to the gym. I can start lifting weights. I can start doing cardio, and I can eat better. All right. But if I only eat better one day a week, if I only work out one day a week, I'm not going to get to that goal. And also, so you have to be consistent. So you have to be consistent with that. Every day you have to do those things that you've set out to do, and then you'll get to your goal. So going back to the relationship, I called my shot on it. Like you said, I finally sat down. For years I have said, I want to get married. I want to find a nice girl. And I'd always find a flaw. I'd always find something, well, I'm not sure. And then I'd go back to being single. And sometimes it wasn't me that decided that, sometimes it was the girl. Let's be honest here. But finally I said, I want a Christian woman. I want a woman that, not going to take care of me like she's my mom, but who will be there to take care of me, who's kind, who's loving, who's affectionate, who I can take care of as well. And I listed out a few things that I have to have this, the Christianity being the biggest one, the number one. And believe it or not, I love fitness. Fitness is my life. That was not on that had to have list. It used to be. Mm-hmm. And that was part of the problem, because I focused on that probably more than the Christian side of things, because I would bring it up, I'm a Christian, I go to church, and then maybe we'd make it 2 or 3 months into talking or dating. And then I'd be like, well, hey, we should go to church. And then it was like, oh, it wasn't, they were, of faith, but they weren't, to me, faithful in going to church.
Right.
And so finally, when I decided that that was number one, it was the second girl I dated that I'm now married to. The first one, we just didn't see eye to eye on that. But even with her, we almost broke up because, we were about 3 months in or so. And I was like, hey, this isn't working out. She was on night shift, so it was difficult because she'd have to work every other weekend. But she would just kind of, oh, I can't go because of this. Oh, I can't go because of that. And finally I said, well, I don't think this is working out, because I want somebody who's going to go to church with me all the time. And she's like, what? And then she said, okay, I didn't realize it was that serious for you. Yeah. And the thing was, I had told her from the beginning that, this is important to me. This is something serious. This is, will be a deal breaker. I actually even told her, I will not marry you if church is not an important thing for you. That's literally how much I called that shot. And yeah, even though I called that shot, when I finally was like, hey, we're going to break up, then it dawned on her, somehow, and we all do this. I'm not blaming it on her only, but we all do this. until somebody really stresses that situation and the importance of it, we won't take it as important as, somebody says it. So you have to call your shot and keep calling that shot. Don't just say one time that you want to get in good shape. Start telling people you want to get in good shape. Show people, put it on social media, tell your family. And if you keep doing that, they're going to stop trying to give you cookies, stop telling you like, hey, let's go out to eat, peer pressuring you, because they're going to realize, no, Philip's serious about this. He really wants that. So yeah, call that shot and keep calling it, because people aren't going to believe it. Actions are one thing, but people also need to hear it as well.
I think so many people, Philip, are scared to put their heart out there and, share that piece of themselves. This is what I want. And I love how you had that conversation with your, I think it was your girlfriend at the time, or and obviously you've had those conversations with your wife. My biggest piece of advice to people who are thinking about getting married is having the talk, is what I call it. And there was a time I did this with my wife. I'm happily married, Christian woman. I actually had a similar sort of thing. I had a list, and I made it when I was 25. It was my quarter life crisis, where I was like, man, I'm getting kind of old. Like, if I write down what I want in a wife, maybe I'll find it. Right. So, I was kind of like the Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I was looking into sort of positive mental attitude stuff. And so I wrote down this list of all the things I wanted out of a wife. Right. And, again, some were important, some were deal breakers, some weren't. And I ended up finding a great wife. But we sat down and had this talk where literally I just aired out every piece of possible baggage or any deal breakers I had. Like, listen, and it was like pretty early after we started dating, but I was dating to find a wife. I wasn't dating to like go hook up and just have a girlfriend for a few years. I was dating to find a wife. So we had this talk. It was a hard talk. It's a hard talk to have, but my wife and my marriage could not be better, because we fully trust each other. We know everything about each other. There's no secrets. It's not like there's going to be something that pops up down the road that catches us off guard that we didn't know about. And there's always going to be little things in marriage, but, man, whenever people are thinking about that long-term relationship, I always give them that advice. Like, you just need to like air out your baggage. And if you can stay together after that, then you can make it through just about anything.
Yeah. And pick big, important things. Actually, don't pick little things like, for you guys out there, don't pick based on the outward appearance, whether they got a big butt or big tits, man. Like, dude, it's all about that inner heart, man. That's what's really important. And not just coming from a Christian guy. Like, seriously, that does not matter at the end of the day, dude. Like, so stop picking these little things, or like, oh, she got this pet peeve. Like, yes, I understand we all have pet peeves, but if that's really a deal breaker, then you're not ready for a marriage. You're not ready for a serious relationship. But going along with that, man, like, you think about it. There's, this is said time and time again. If you just go on a map and say, I want to go here, but you don't put any GPS coordinates or like an actual city you're going to, how are you going to get to that city? Like, the GPS can't tell you where to go. And it's the same thing with our mind, the neural networks, right? If we're not writing down and have it written down what exactly we want in a wife, in a husband, we're not going to get that. Just the same thing with our goals. If we, again, the smart goals, that's why they're specific, not, I want to lose weight. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, maybe you lost a pound. Oh, did you hit your goal? Well, no, because you didn't actually set the goal. Yeah. You weren't specific on it, but you did lose weight. That's what you said. So be very specific on it. And it's funny how God aligns things in your life. Some books talk about, they call it the universe. I think it's God. Mm-hmm. God's aligning things in your life, but you have to be specific on that. Because just like the GPS, if you don't put in where you want to go,
sure,
you're just going to go somewhere.
It's huge. I've compared it to, kind of the way we learn. You hear a new idea and you compare it to any old ideas you may have heard. And it's kind of like, hey, I wrote this down and I know what I want. And now, oh, hey, look, it's over there. Like, you can actually, once you have that clear vision, you can actually see these things coming in your life. And I'm curious, and obviously you're a Christian. What's your Christian background? Are you a lifelong Christian? Did you convert at some point? What's your faith background?
Yeah. So I grew up in the Church of Christ, which that's, I guess, denomination, if you want to call it
Sure.
what we call ourselves. But I grew up in the Church of Christ, from day one. We kind of went back and forth with going a lot, not going a lot, because we grew up outside of the Houston area, and there weren't really any churches that my parents, I guess, liked. And so we'd go into Houston to go to church, and that was like an hour drive one way. And my dad would work Sundays sometimes. And so my mom was trying to take us three kids, and it got to be difficult. So we wouldn't go all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So once I finally started driving, it was kind of like that was a milestone for me. It got more serious. And then I went to college, got more serious. And then I got out of college and got more serious. And I'm just continually trying to grow. So, but yeah, I just lifelong Christian, grew up in church and everything.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, same for me. I grew up in church, and we're Christians. We consider ourselves Lutherans. We're part of the Missouri Synod Lutheran Churches. There's different Lutheran denominations, and some can practice widely different things. But we're, for all intents and purposes, Bible believing Christians. But it's so interesting to hear different places where people come from and their faith background, and I know it's played a huge role in your life. Has it? How has your faith impacted your mindset on fitness, on business, on your relationship? Is there a key way where you see faith really playing a role in those things?
Yeah, I really try to intertwine that. I know, especially with the bodybuilding, it kind of seems like it's not. So, a lot of, especially I mean, you go look at the hashtag fitness on Instagram, it's like soft porn, right? And so it is difficult being in that fitness space. And so I will have shirtless pics here and there, but it's more like hey, let me show you my progress, or, like, hey, I just did this bodybuilding show or something. But I try not to do it. I have in the past where I've posted a lot more shirtless pictures, but I try not to do it so much because I want to be that modest man and everything. And so that's a big role both on my, the business I try and run, and, just my fitness journey in general. But, just trying to give everything back to God, and realizing, yes, I have to put in work here, but the work that I put here is to be able to help others. And so me being in shape, a big reason for that is for legacy, to be able to play with my kids, be able to be there for others at church, to be able to, they call on me to help move things, because I got the big muscles, right?
There you go,
And
man.
so, like, I'm actually in shape, and I can help. And I feel like, my body is a vessel. I want it to be the best, representation for God. It's his temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is why it plays a huge role for me. Well, what about for you?
I totally agree, man. I think that faith really is the driving force that I've talked a little bit about absolute truth, and
Mhm.
I think it's hard to navigate this world if you don't have a guiding source of truth, your North Star sort of guiding which way you go, because every other day you hear some different piece of information from some source, and it all conflicts, and you hear about different diets, and this day one works, this day another works. And if there's not that source of absolute truth, then we'll all just be like a boat in the wind, just blowing around. So, for me, it's that clear perspective that really shapes my worldview on everything, on business,
Mhm.
on church, on community, on, fitness, all that stuff. Um, that's how I see it, man. And I saw one of your podcasts. It was titled "Trust in God, Not Yourself,"
Mhm.
and that's something that I resonate with, because I think that that phrase "believe in yourself" is used a lot, and it always kind of pricks me a little bit, because I really put my faith in God, but I trust that God has called me to do certain things. He's put me in situations where He knows I won't, fall. And if you put your trust in Him and your motivations right, like for me, it's all about your motivation.
Mhm.
And I think that's like with your bodybuilding. What's your motivation for being a bodybuilder? Is it, oh, hey, look at me, I look great with my shirt off, come on, ladies, check me out? Or is it, I'm glorifying God, I'm doing the best for me, my family, my community, I put value on this is part of my business. whatever. So that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, I love that. The motivation behind it. That's so true. We do have to make sure the motivation is the correct way. And yeah, like, you mentioned my podcast there, trust in God, not in yourself. Put the trust on him. Like, yeah, we do the work, but if it weren't for God, we wouldn't be able to do that work. And we all have our own unique gifts. And so use those gifts for his glory.
For sure, man. So, change of topics. What's your favorite movie and why? Are you a movie guy?
Not really. I mean, I go back to like Never Back Down. That's
Okay.
an old movie. Well, old for
Classic.
me, I guess. But several years ago, I just really liked that. It was really cool seeing the underdog fight his way back and go from really just trying to get revenge to realizing it's more than that. And then he still ended up whooping the guy's butt at the end. The evil guy, but I like that movie just because the fight scene made you like, oh man, I got to go out there and crush something, like start doing something like that. And so that's really been my favorite movie, but not really too much of a movie guy.
Sure. I'm just always curious by that question because I feel like a lot of people, they'll buy their favorite movie or buy a movie they like. It kind of like reflects a little bit about their personality. I'm curious too, what do you listen to at the gym?
So I go back and forth. It depends, mostly podcasts. So yours is one of them. I listen to like, Tony's as well, our mentor, and there's like Andy Frizella, Ed Milet. So I've got a few there on the list that I listen to. But if I'm just really needing some energy, I'll go and listen to some Pandora. I'll listen to just some rock. So probably not like the most like Christian music, but it's just something like, just kind of get me psyched up and everything.
Some metal or something like that.
But cool. Here lately, I've been trying to be more interactive with people at the gym, and just so that way, they don't see me as somebody intimidating. I just come in there, get my workout done. Like if I'm just this buff, dude that doesn't talk to anybody. So I wanted to try and be more interactive to be able to help people, to have that opportunity to help people as well. So kind of back and forth on that.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I'm a big podcast guy for sure. And, it's so many cool options to be able to continually develop these days and lean on some of these great mentors and coaches and, peak performance people. Do you have any like fitness idols that you've idolized for a long time where you're like, man, like he's one of my fitness heroes?
That's one thing I really don't. I mean, there's guys I've seen that have like, man, it'd be cool to look like that. But,
Sure.
A lot of the ones that I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to look like that. I realize that I'm not going to get there because they are enhanced, again, the steroids kind of thing, sometimes we'll call it enhanced instead. But yeah, I'll see things and then I'll just try and do my own journey. So if I look at myself and try and just make myself the best version I can be. And so that kind of comes with a double-edged sword because, having done a bodybuilding show, I got super lean. I was super shredded, super vascular. And then now I'm not there. And so it's hard to, compare myself to that. I'm like, I've been better. And so it's like this constant internal battle. But so, not that I idolize myself, but I always try and just improve myself. Always, improving myself.
That's great. I just recorded another episode with a good friend of mine, Sergio Fernandez. He's a entrepreneur, and he says to win your life, you got to win your life. And I think, we get stuck looking at some of these people we idolize, and I like your mentality, man. You do what you need to do. You're focused on doing what's right for Philip Sessions, and I think that's what we should be doing. What's right for us. So. Been great having you on the show, Philip, man. If you had, I think about one of the reasons I started this podcast, by the way, your podcast is great. You've been podcasting since 2018, December.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you learned podcasting? What's that journey been like for you?
So it's been up and down. I've been, back and forth on some things, but really just trying to have again, consistent, right? To have a consistent release on podcasts and consistent message, because people are going to more resonate whenever you have that consistent message instead of being all over the place. And I think that's part of the reason why I haven't had that growth. I'm not a super famous person, but also because my message hasn't been totally consistent. If I have a lot of things going on in my head, and I love talking about more than just fitness, love talking about mindset and everything, but it's helped me overall become a better speaker. And that's kind of the next goal for me, is become a public speaker, speak on stages, speak on Zoom stages now, virtual stages and
Yeah.
everything. So it gets to that point. So it really helps with that. It helps just get a message out there. You're helping people, for free. Just an easy
Yeah.
way to do it. People can figure it out on their own time.
Super good excuse to have cool conversations with cool people too. So
Yeah, exactly.
for
And looking
sure.
forward to having you on soon on
Hell yeah,
mine.
man. That'd be awesome. So one of the reasons I did this is because Gary Vee's mindset resonated with me. Like, hey, my grandkids, my great grandkids, multiple generations might be able to see this someday. And I thought, man, how cool would it be if I could like go back and watch my great grandpa doing podcasts or like being interviewed. So if you knew, multiple generations down the road may see Philip Sessions today on the podcast, what's one piece of advice you'd want to leave with those future generations?
I think I'll go back to the gym. Just get started. Do what you want to do. Life it's short, but it's long. Try something new. It's not going to hurt you in the long run. Yeah, you might lose some money. You might not have the money you need. Obviously be smart with it, but just go for it. People, even when you fail, people are going to admire the fact that you tried something because they're too afraid to try. And hey, if you succeed, now you're doing something you really wanted to do. Or even if you fail or succeed and you just don't like it, now you found out that you didn't like it, and you can move on to the next thing instead of always having that, well, I wonder if, what if I would have done that? What would my life have been like? And that's something, I guess, something else. What old people tell you, listen to that. I've listened to that, and I feel like it's really benefited me. A lot of older people said, I really regret not trying this. I really regret not doing that. And so I focused on doing those things instead of regretting them later on. So just get started and go after it. Try something new.
That's great advice, man. Awesome advice. So where can we find you, Phil?
Best place probably to find me on Instagram or Facebook at Philip Sessions is, really gonna be the best thing. 1L and then Sessions like class sessions. So PhilipSessions.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you being on the show. It's been awesome. You got some great insights to share. Go check out the Healthy Living Sessions podcast. Guys rocking it. Philip, thanks for coming on the show, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Philip, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.